Hello, Noir Vortex, and this is going to be a bit of a somewhat of a futile video, really. But I felt like doing another one of these video diaries because I've been doing this since I was about the age of 21, maybe even, yeah, 21 really. And I like doing video diaries, journals, putting down my thoughts, as mediocre as many of them are, in all honesty. Um, Borderline schizo. I'm joking, but I want to the idea to talk about today how much we worry about what other people think about us and how much mental energy is wasted worrying about that. And like I'm almost 40 now, and one of the only things I know for sure, with some degree of certainty, is you cannot please anybody. That is impossible. The only judge about anything you make should be yourself, really. I mean, that doesn't mean you discount what others say about work you might make. There is valid criticism that exists out there, but in terms of taking it like on a emotional level, yeah, I mean, you should be the judge of yourself. Ideally, I think other people can, provide a clue as to when you're going a bit off the rails in life, but that's almost obvious. But I don't think, and I think this is one thing that I definitely dealt with when I was a teenager, was I worried anxiously for about people pleasing and making sure I was doing the right thing all the time, and almost trying to over, over deliver on everything. But what that actually creates is this repression in your mind, really, where you repress anger and then it tends to explode sometimes, anyway. Well, not explode per se, but I mean, I know for my case, it definitely comes out passive aggression, really. No, obviously, like anybody, and especially any man, I have huge wells of anger inside me and rage and violence. Everyone has that inside them. I don't think you're honest if you don't admit that exists within you. I mean, just look how we're born into this world. It's a violent act. It's a beautiful, wonderful miracle and everything else, but it's all violence. Um, and I don't mean violence in the sense of going up to someone and just punching them in the face or like beating somebody to a pulp. That is obviously an extreme form of violence. But the world is violent. I mean, I really like that Francis Drake, Francis Bacon quote about one need only look at your breakfast meal when you're eating it to realize how violent the world is. And we always forget this. We, as human beings, we idealize and we create these ideal constructs of the world as we want it, but we always lose sight of the world as what it is. We're chunks of flesh just moving through a beautiful but chaotic and violent world. That is the reality of our experience. Like, how do we understand how the universe was even created? The universe was created. The universe emerged from the Big Bang, right? So, as far as we can tell, and like obviously there are gaps in our knowledge, but as far as we can tell, single point of time and space that exploded. So we were born from an explosion, like I'm just going to roll with all the random thoughts. I've been having a lot of nighttime thoughts, so I may as well just document it all down here anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've been thinking a lot recently about how, and I think it's how Schopenhauer saw the will as this like chaotic not aspect of ourselves. We are energy. I mean, we're a unfolding system of chaotic energy flows, right? In some respects, water has its own energy, it's fluid, and fog and fire, and we are part of that grand spectrum of existence. we are a part of that. We are the thinking part of it. We're the part of it that can self-reflect. And I don't know what that flashing is, but we can think about it and we can reflect on it. But we are also privy to the same chaotic surges, I think, in energy across space and time. Where the human beings are, we think that we can be united through ideals, but I mean, when has that ever worked in the past? We are isolated beings. I mean, we can find moments of love, and there are moments of love and joy, and it's not all just the sadness and the depression and everything else. That's nonsense. Obviously, this is one-dimensional. As saying that all life is happiness and joy. I mean, happiness in a way is a sort of overrated state, and it's not common amongst the intelligent. That's for sure. And by that, I don't mean to denigrate, even. To be fair, I sometimes, honestly, and not even me, but just anybody, I think, who intelligence basically just creates anxiety. I mean, it creates overthinking. And you can find coping mechanisms to deal with that, whether it be drugs, whether it be alcohol, whether it be writing, whether it be art, whether it be distracting yourself with doing physical exercise, which is the one I'm really bad at. And I know I am. I know myself well enough, and I know the areas I need to develop in my life to become. I'm getting out of shape. I'm not unhappy with wherever I've at in life. I'm doing a job now, which, though it's very difficult at times, being a teacher, it's rewarding. It's like, and I'm teaching a subject that I'm passionate about. So that's actually a really lucky thing to have. Anyway, where was I? The will, like, we're all there. We have all these unfolding, energy, right? So where you choose, I think, to conjure your energy is ultimately where you end up, of course. And this is one of the reasons, actually. Again, I want to tangent a lot in this video because I'm just rambling. But one of the reasons, and I was thinking about this the other day, actually, coincidentally, one of the reasons I think people always misinterpret, like, violence in video games, I think is actually a very positive thing, assuming it's handled in the correct way. I think it's actually a good thing to have a vent for that type of aggression. Because I'm going to speak for every man. I don't know what it's like for women. I'm not a woman, but we have aggression. There's no point denying it. What's the point of being like that, sort of almost like a priest, like denying all your impulses, denying that you want to have sex with women or men or whatever you want to have sex with? Why deny that? I think it's a life-denying philosophy, and this is why I have no time for religion, to be honest, because it's life-denying by its very nature. I mean, I'm very extremely Nietzschean in that respect. I don't have time for any organized religion. I think it's a way to sublimate all your desires to the point of annihilation, to the point where you basically just become a sexless sort of like puppet that will have no life. You're just living by some other's design. Basically, guys from 1,000 years ago tripping in a desert who thought they, sort of got schizophrenics by today's conventions. Even though the bizarre oddity and contradiction of the fact that, basically these fucking nutters who wrote all these books thousands of years ago about some invisible fucking guy, and then, people believe that because culture passes it on like a virus. But people today who have mental health issues are just ignored, and they'll be just, I'm not saying that, a certain degree of like people with mental health issues are, they're rambling off and into ad infinitum and it's not, comprehensible, it's not followable, it's not easy to follow. And there's a lot of philosophers who definitely were on the extreme side of Socrates, of course, had the daemon that he used to speak to, and so philosophers are also quite mad in their own way. But at least philosophers only analyze their own delusions to infinity. The problem with religion is it creates a delusion to deal with the chaos of the world, as I said, like the fact that we're at this unfolding chaos, this will. I know this is very Schopenhauer, but bear with me. I'm not even that much of a disciple of Schopenhauer, following a train of thought, but that, and I mean, even Schopenhauer, one of the problems with Schopenhauer, actually, and again, You might be able to follow this if you know anything about German pessimism. You might not be able to, but anyway. One of the problems with Schopenhauer, though, I think he is a bit too much of a miserabilist. That's why I like Camus' perspective a bit more of, it doesn't mean anything. Make some meaning, then have a dance. You can still dance. Whatever else you can say about this chaotic, crazy world where people are believing in one fucking imaginary person or another and killing each other over that, or they're killing each other over a piece of land that they've squared off and said is theirs, and ideological constructs and virtualities like nation states, or my nation state's better than yours, or I'm white so therefore we're the best race, or whatever, or such other bullshit. And you just think the amount of human lives that have been wasted for such folly, for such fucking folly. But we do. We need human beings. We need something to believe in a lot of the time. And I understand that to a degree. Like, I was brought up in the church somewhat. I know my family aren't extremely religious, but I was definitely brought up with the typical woolly sort of like Christianity. But I cast it off at the age of 6. I'm not even joking. Like, I just was questioning it, and always in Sunday school. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm reading dinosaur magazines. Why? How can these two things be mutually exclusive, mate? Well, how can there be a flood during that era, or even actually, it would have been before? I don't know. You know what I mean? I was just, and that's not to make me like, oh wow. There's nothing special about that, really. But that's the thing that perplexes me, is that how can people buy into this bullshit still? It's so obviously bullshit. It contravenes every sort of logical thought, but then people give, different religions and belief systems a shield because lots of people believe it, so therefore we have to respect it. No, we don't. Like, I don't respect Plato's views on slavery. He may have other good views in the Republic. I've got that book right there. So, but yeah, his views on slavery are just of a bygone era. We trashed it. So why can't we do the same? Why do I therefore have to believe a thing that happens to be popular in certain cultures? And I'm talking about all religions. I'm just talking about Christianity. That's easy. Islam as well. Definitely Hinduism, one of the oldest religions actually. And like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate some of the imagery of the storytelling. I appreciate the fact that these are stories, and it's a tradition that goes back a long way. But I think what gets confused is religions, I think, started off as storytelling cultures, which were trying to make a moral point, right? Sometimes I think those moralities are honestly just cringe. But whatever. Like, people, again, these are products of a bygone era. So you have different moralities, you have different values, right? So again, I don't have any problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when people start shaking that around as a stick, which has happened again and again. Now, people obviously always say that's people use religion, or cynical people use religion, and that's probably true to some degree. You could say the same for ideology too. Like, Marxism definitely used anti-religious stance as a form of beating stick. You can talk about the repression of the Orthodox Christian Russian Church during the time of Stalinism. Churches destroyed and everything else. I wouldn't advocate for that. Like, I do think that priests are wasting their lives and nuns are wasting their lives, and they're actual. I think they are wasting their lives basically on a pipe dream, but they've made that choice, so they have the freedom to make that choice, right? It's not I can pity them in a sense, but again, it's their choice. But yeah, actively, killing or hurting them is a terrible thing. But again, we have all these repressed. There's no point repressing these forces that exist within our psyches to the point where you deny they exist. I think if you deny they exist, or if you have the censorious attitude of this can't happen to me, I can't be swayed by, extreme illogical beliefs, then yeah, you can. I'm not averse to that. I'm sure that if somebody was wily enough, they could get me involved in. I'm definitely not. I would never get involved in anything like identitarian. It's like, I'm not really interested in that in any respect. Like I'm not proud of being white. Why would I be proud of being white? It's basically just a genetic fact of my birth. Doesn't Why would I be proud of it? If anything, it's a disadvantage. I'm gonna burn easier than black guys. Like they're the one. They've got the. No, I'm not. I'm not doing the whole thing. I don't dislike being white, but being proud of it. What is there to be proud of? Like just because I might, I don't know, have the same skin color as Dostoevsky or Shakespeare doesn't mean I'm their equal. Like be proud of stuff you've actually done in life. Be proud of something you've actually made with your own hands. I'm proud of the paintings I've done behind. Well, some of them. Some of them are shit, but I'm proud of some of them. I'm proud of some of the books I've written. Doesn't matter if like they've been read only by hundreds or something people. The games I've made, all of them have been played by about 7,000 people. I mean, that's pretty cool. If you actually looked at that amount of people in a line, well, even if they didn't like him or didn't get anything from it or whatever, like, be proud of things you've actually made, you as an individual. And what I'm preaching here isn't like the cult of the individual, but I think there's more. I think there's more in what you can achieve as an individual rather than going into, regressing into some sort of like, well, I'm white, so I'm as good as all these guys, and I'm proud of being white, and I'm proud of being a Christian, and I'm proud of that. Fuck off. What's that got to do with anything? You're born into that culture, mate. Or even to just be slightly controversial, like I'm proud of being Muslim, or I'm proud of being from fucking wherever. Like, who gives a shit? Like, nobody really cares. Like, you can believe whatever you want. Fair enough. Don't enforce it on other people. But yeah, believe whatever bollocks you want about God and whatever. Or like, oh, I'm proud to be Hindu, therefore I must hate the Muslims, or blah 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 blah. And again, fucking bollocks. Why just try? I mean, again, when you look at those cultures as well, we have the only way they ever progress is like again talking, interaction. Like, you have to tolerate other people, right? There's lots of people around me who are religious, and whilst I would debate with them and talk to them, I'm not going to just, I'm not going to advocate for violence against them. It's just pointless, ridiculous, absurd. And then obviously I was brought up in the Christian morality, but it's not because of the Christian morality that I don't believe in violence. Is because I just think most of the time, I mean, I'm not a complete pacifist. I think there are occasions where it is necessary, like self-defense, obviously, and there are occasions where if you aren't willing to at least present the possibility of violence, you are going to get trodden over, especially in male-dominated actually places. That's not really talked about that much, but when you're surrounded by other men, you have to stand up to them, and that can involve your physicality. It doesn't have to necessarily even involve punching or whatever, but that's something you have to do. I don't think women really understand that always, but it's a case of if you don't assert your masculinity to some respect in an environment that's very male, you become the bitch in that. And I apologize for the word, but I mean, that's the reality of it. You become bitched on. You become the bitch of the group, if you want. Now, obviously, that's a pretty it's a sexist term if you use it, I think, in relation to a woman, and I suppose it's somewhat sexist if you use it in relation to a man, because again, it suggests submission, right? Whatever. But again, these are just the lexicon of the cultures, and these are the words that are used in those contexts. Like, again, I'm not going to dilute the words I'm saying because those are the words that will be used in a male group, or like sometimes it'll be pussy, and again, all of it is very crass, vulgar, and everything else. But again, that is how men communicate a lot of the time, or they will also communicate with vulgarities, but ultimately there's nothing wrong with that. I think it just depends on the context and what's actually being said, why it's being said, etc. Now, this has been a proper ramble, and I have really no idea what the point of it was. I obviously touched on a lot of different things there: the will, religion, just a bit of an atheistic rant in some respects. But I mean, I wouldn't even call myself completely. I was actually thinking this the other day. I'm not really I'm something of a materialist spiritualist, actually. Even whilst I was having this thought, I was thinking, you pretentious bastard. But honestly, I am. I am a materialist fundamentally. I do believe that we are in the world. There's no illusion here. I'm a material being in a material world, but I think there is a sort of spiritual undercurrent, which I think of actually as the will, right? In terms of like, and I've arrived at that sort of independently of Schopenhauer because I read a bit of Schopenhauer, but I'm not like a complete believer in it. But I think there is something in it. Like I think again, we are chaos in a world, swirling world of insanity, of energy. Now, whether our lives are one or they're eternal or reincarnations or whatever. Look, I don't know. I mean, again, I plead the fifth on that one, but yeah, I guess that's a bit of food for thought. I'll leave it there. It's like 20 minutes long, so I don't want to ramble for too long. Guess that was it.